So I'm going to hand it over to Brent Oldhouse.
Thank you, Kelsey, for that introduction. I appreciate it. Like she said, my name is Brad Oldhouse, and for the last 3 years, you can advance to the next one, that's fine. For the last 3 years, I've been helping businesses in Montana tell stories on social media networks, and we're seeing incredible results from those stories. And today I'm going to tell you how we do it. So it's my goal to give you something that you can take to the dealership and use right away. Does that make sense? So before we get into this, I kind of want a little bit of context into the room and how you guys are using technology. So we'll start here with you. I'd like your name, the dealership you're from, and the type of mobile device you carry. Go ahead.
John Luckett, I'm with the Warranty Group, and I carry an iPhone.
Awesome.
Dan Wallenhosen Ford, iPhone.
Nice.
Whitney Olson, Device Ford, iPhone.
Joe Billion, Billion Auto Group, and iPhone.
Peter Billion Auto Group,
iPhone 7.
Attaboy. Attaboy. That's my jam there. Absolutely.
Wins again, man. You said that crap.
iPhone 7.
Kevin Colsman, we have Chrysler, Chevrolet, and Subaru. In Whitefish, Montana, I have an iPhone. I think it is a 7 as well, so.
Oh.
7.
Could be.
Mark Padilla, ADS, Samsung Galaxy.
And we can't fly with that, unfortunately.
You got a night back there?
I'll make sure to be careful with my words too. So.
I'm Michael Healy, I'm with ADS with Mark, and I have a iPhone 6, and an iPad, and a MacBook Pro.
Well done. Yes. Yes. Awesome.
Alan Tovey with ADS, iPhone.
Josh Waller with Northern Ford, and iPhone.
Matt Waller, Northern Chrysler, Galaxy 5.
Ernest Lavender, Cox Automotive, iPhone 7.
We're not quite to plus yet, right? A couple months we get the iPhone Plus. All right, go ahead.
Brandon Heberly Ford in Forsyth, Montana, and I have an iPhone.
Max Zander with Auto Dealer Compliance, iPhone 6.
Cool.
Bruce Knudsen, Montana Auto Dealers Association. I'm buying an 8 when it comes out. Hold it out, man. It's better than you two. You only have a 7. Man.
It's true.
All right.
You're always one up to me,
MTADA,
Drew.
Montana Auto Dealers, iPhone 7.
Cool.
Kelsey Wonke, Montana Auto Dealers, iPhone.
So let's talk about that for just a second with Kelsey. That would be a very good thing to talk about.
Okay.
So when you first came to us, what did you use?
I used a Droid, and I was hesitant to switch over to the iPhone, but you know, sometimes it's easier to just go with the flow than resisting. and I was wrong once.
So, and I will agree with that. Usually she's right and I'm wrong, but I think there's a possibility I might have been wrong. I use an iPhone because I'm dumb. That's the reason why.
But it's user friendly, right?
Yes, because I'm dumb.
I actually made the switch from an Android to iPhone about 18 months ago. And I did it because I'm a social media nerd. And all of the cool stuff happens on iPhone before it ever happens on Google Android phones. So that's why I made the switch. And I found it was way easier to use. So thank you for those introductions and for showing off your technology. That was really awesome. What we've really done though is a quick object lesson in tech adoption. So 10 years ago, this stuff didn't exist. But I'm in a room full of people who, at one point in their careers, adopted this technology so that you could leverage its power and communicate more effectively and run your businesses more efficiently. Show of hands, how many in this room are using email on their phone now? Case in point.
Phone, does that count for anything?
Come on. Why do you have one of those?
Does it still have the 60-minute plan? Or does it get up to 90 minutes?
He's off the grid.
It's $1 a minute. I used to turn mine off so no one can call me.
He wants to be off the grid so his boss doesn't overrate his application service.
Got the burner phone, man.
The burner phone. Right. So for you guys, adopting social media marketing is the next logical step for you. You know the technology, it's in your pocket. The next step is leveraging its power to tell stories like my clients do. And they're seeing amazing returns by telling stories on Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. So just to kind of frame how we're going to do things today, I'm going to give you a presentation. It's going to last about 15-20 minutes. Save your questions to the end. I want a good 40-45 minutes of Q&A. I think that really brings the most value to the room. So before we get into that, the question that I was posed with when we were talking about this speech was, Brad, how are we going to sell more cars using social media? And to answer that question, go ahead. To answer that question, there's some processes that you can take along the way, but the answer is not going to look the same for every dealership in every market, right? I mean, no marketing fits every market or every dealership. But I really needed to do some research. To be perfectly honest with you guys, the only context that I have into the auto industry was I sold cars for JC Billion in 2004 for 3 months, and I sucked. I sucked. I hated it. It was terrible. I loved meeting new people, but man, the close was not my thing. But I really got an inside look at how dealerships run and the culture of dealerships. And of course, things that I'm sure have massively changed. And we start to think about where your dealerships are going and where the car business itself is going in the future. Like autonomous cars, that's a real thing now, right? Autonomous cars with drones on top. We're talking about subscription services in the future that you bundle your Netflix and your Hulu and your Toyota subscription together. Like, there's some really weird stuff happening. So the people in this room are in a very crazy juxtaposition, because you've got an industry that you're literally in the middle of a disruption on. Right smack in the middle. You're seeing it in real time. So then when I came across this quote from GM CEO Mary Barra, and she said that the dealerships are going to change more in the next 5 to 10 years than it has in the last 50. That struck a chord with me because, yeah, that totally makes sense. How fast does this stuff change? How often does iPhone come out with a new model? How many updates do you need to make to your Facebook page? You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. Go ahead, next slide. So every industry is set for the disruption too. We've already seen it, right? So the hotel industry has to deal with Airbnb, and the cabs, and transportation industry has to deal with Uber and Lyft and ride sharing. And when this guy here, Bill Ford, said that we need to be open and excited to the disruption happening everywhere, I felt some comfort in that, because now I can see at least the C-suite of the names that I've grown up watching on television and the names that you've grown up selling and servicing. At least they recognize at the very top that the change is coming. So with the change in technology and the change in your industry, why are we doing things the old way? In my research, I had to talk to some salespeople. I tried to talk to a sales manager, which I found out is probably one of the most protected human beings on the planet. But I was actually able to get to one and have this conversation. And he likened it to squeezing every bit of sales juice out of an orange when it feels like the market is buying vegetables. So there's a lot of change happening in real time. Go ahead. So now that we've really framed this talk into the context of your industry and where things are headed, you guys know better than I do, right? You live it every day. I'm just going off of 2 months of Google searches and talking to salespeople and service people. So how are we going to sell more cars using social media? I'm going to give you a 4-step process here. Again, I'm going to really crank through it. Save your questions to the end. Let's go ahead and start with the first slide. So, step number 1. If you want to sell more cars using social media, if you want to do anything in 2017, business related, dealership or not, number 1, you need to hire somebody full-time whose only job is social media marketing. That's where we're at now. This is no longer a 5th or 6th delegation of a task to your marketing gal who already has to run your CRM and pump leads to your salespeople and all that. This has to be a person dedicated, 40 hours a week. Their sole existence on your lot is to produce content for social media, okay? This isn't a 16-year-old because they know how to use Snapchat. This isn't a 19-year-old college student home for vacation. This needs to be somebody that is understanding of your business goals and your objectives, knows how to read a P&L report, somebody that knows the finance department well, somebody that is going to be front-facing to your customers of your business. Don't put that kind of pressure on a teenager just because they know how to use Instagram. So this person needs to be educated, not just in how to use the platforms, but they also need to be educated in how to build ads. That's going to be the cornerstone of how you guys are going to sell more cars in the future. Ads on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. And we're going to get into it. Like, this person is crucial to your growth of your business in the future. Not just dealerships, every industry. Go ahead. So this isn't translating very well from computer to computer, but this person, step number 2, is going to set your social strategy. And your social strategy is made up of 2 very equal parts. You can't have more in one than the other. The first part is, okay, before I frame the first part, if I say the term newsfeed in regards to Facebook, do you understand what that is? Okay. So I can, if I say some jargon or something, somebody throw a Coke at me or something and tell me to stop and explain. Please, like, I nerd out on this stuff. So, step 1, you're going to tell stories in the news feeds. These are stories about people that work on your dealership. These are people that, or these are stories that are going to connect emotionally to your eventual customer or to your current customers. Your customer base is a hell of a place to start with these stories in your news feeds because they've gone through the sales process. They've gone through the service process, right? These are great people that are buying from you, that are excited that they bought from you. They need to be telling their stories on a video on the Facebook newsfeed, for example, okay? So that's the first strategy, stories in the news feeds. And that can apply to your Instagram account. That can apply to it definitely applies to Snapchat. And if you don't know these platforms, save it for Q&A, let's dive into it. The second part of that strategy, equal, is the advertisement that you're going to put on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube pre-roll videos. That's the next direction you have to go. And this strategy is going to be executed by your knowledgeable head of social or whatever it is that you call this person from step 1. Does that make sense so far? So, before I get into the third step, I want to take our business hats off for a second. And I want you to think about how you use the social networks that you use right now. So to frame this next part, how many people personally, not business, personally are on Facebook in this room? Personally. Awesome. How many people in this room have a separate page for their dealership on Facebook? That's about right. Okay. Instagram. How many of you are using Instagram personally? Awesome. Good. Instagram for the dealership? Awesome. This is going to be an interesting one. Snapchat. Yes.
I have little kids.
You are my man. You are my man.
2 in college.
Love it. Love it.
It's my parental checkup.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And in using Snapchat, have you kind of learned how to use it kind of along the way?
A little bit along the way, and it's just a way that I try to keep current in what my kids are doing.
Definitely. Have you ever thought about using it for business?
Not from the warranty perspective, no.
Gotcha. There's probably some protected information, that kind of thing. I got it. So, in thinking of how we use social networks in this room on a personal level, I want you to think in your head, and I'm not going to ask you about what it is, but think in your head of a brand that you're very partial to. And let me explain. I love hockey. If we hang out for longer than 5 minutes, you're going to figure out that I'm a hockey nut. I've played hockey, I coach hockey. It's just in my blood. And a brand that I'm very affectionate towards is one called Gangsho Gear. And basically they're a lifestyle clothing brand for hockey players. And I love following them on Instagram and Snapchat because I get to see new products. But the way they market it and the wording that they use really harkens back to my days of being a Bozeman Ice Dog. I mean, it's just a great brand and I love interacting with them. And they're social, they talk back, which is awesome. So in your heads right now, think of a brand like that you have an affinity for. And how do you interact with them on social? How do you want to see them interact on social. And now let's tie it back together. We need to start reverse engineering our customers in the same manner. How are they going to talk about our dealership and our brand the way that I just talked about Gong Show Gear? Does that make sense? We need to start thinking like our customer and thinking like our fans in order to be effective in our social marketing strategy. Right? Go ahead, next slide. So again, I told you to think stories in your news feeds. You can advance to the next one. The paid social ads are going to be what scales awareness for your dealership. So while we're telling stories about Greg in your service department who's been there for 25 years and everybody knows him, he's the most likable dude on the lot, customers come to interact with him because he knows his stuff and everybody trusts him. We're telling stories about Greg in our Facebook feed. Over here, separate from all that, we're sending out Facebook ads that scale awareness for what we're doing over here on our page. We're going to scale awareness for this month being Toyota Truck Month or whatever it is. Does that make sense? So the ad itself is going to scale the awareness for the people that like your page. The one sales manager I got to talk to was like, Brad, why would I even create a dealership page? Like, why does that even make sense to me? Like, well, it's a really good question, man. To be honest with you, with that attitude, I probably wouldn't want to watch it either. Right? People are going to like your page because you're a dealership. People are going to like your page because of the stories you tell. The content is king. Bottom line, you are sitting on your dealerships right now, a gold mine of amazing stories. You have people that work for you that have their own life stories. You have awesome customers that go to bat for you when their friends and family are looking for vehicles. Those are the kinds of things you need to tap into to tell those stories. And the more stories that I see coming from a dealership or some sort of corporate, I don't know, any other industry, I'm more willing to like that page because of your content. In 2010, we were liking pages because the pages were new and fun and shiny. In 2017, 2018 world, we're not going to like your page until we like your content. So it's totally reversed. Okay? Go ahead. Step 3. So your head of social is going to set a 2-step strategy, and inside that 2-step strategy, they're going to be social. We often forget that in the term social media, we forget about that first word, right? What's social mean? It's interaction, it's communication, right? This isn't mass media. This isn't a talk about how to use mass media for dealerships. This is a talk about how to have conversations with your customers using Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook messaging and all of these different platforms to communicate with your customers. Go ahead. I want you to start thinking of Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of these social networks. From here on out, I want you to start thinking them as customer interaction tools, customer service tools. Start using these in the way that you would use the phone or that you would use email. And when people interact with you, they are inviting you to have a conversation. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. I forgot where we're at. All right, go back one more. Sorry. Let me explain. I think what keeps a lot of businesses off of using Facebook anyway is negative reviews. How many in this room have ever gotten a negative review in their life, ever? It sucks, right? Nobody likes to be told that they did something wrong. Nobody likes to have that in a public forum. We've got a brand to protect, right? But there is an opportunity when somebody leaves you a negative review. Did you know that 20% of people that leave a negative review or even a comment on a Facebook post from a brand actually expect said business or brand to get back to them? 2 out of every 10 people. So when I hear that, there's an 80% chance of surprising and delighting that person on a public forum. And for somebody like me in the market for a vehicle and I'm researching dealerships, I'm going to social first of all. I want to see how you treat your customers. And the first place I'm going is the reviews. Are you ignoring them or are you interacting with them? You got 5-star reviews? Awesome. Tell them thank you for the review. Tell them that you'll give them a bird dog for sending you some customers. Right? Throw them a bone. Praise them for giving you that review. Then you get a 1-star review. Franken's service was terrible. I'll never go back there again. I waited for 3.5 hours and blah, 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 blah. You have an opportunity to not only make that person feel better about their interaction by saying, hey, I'm sorry that you had a bad experience. What can we do to fix it? Start a conversation publicly, very publicly. What that does for me as a shopper is I see, oh, these guys actually care. These guys are actually listening. Suddenly I've got brand trust, and this is off of a review on a Facebook page. I am more likely to go to the dealership that interacts with the people when they're at their most lowest point emotionally than I am that gets the 5-star reviews that never says anything back. So I'm beating a dead horse, but be social on every network, every time, no matter what. And your head of social is going to be completely charged with this task. All right, go ahead. So the fourth and final step, your head of social is going to scale steps 2 and 3 throughout your entire lot. And let me explain. We want to find 2 or 3 salespeople that are just the happiest, go-luckiest dudes or gals. And we want to encourage them to create their own social channels, right? Tell Donnie, go ahead and start a Snapchat. And let him tell stories about the selling side of things, what his world is like. And then you're going to have somebody in the service department do the same thing. Let's start a service department Twitter account. Why would we do that? Because somebody my age and younger is most likely to turn to Twitter and ask you a question directly, and if they know that you're answering Twitter the same way you answer a phone, they're going to get more interaction there. Your head of social is then going to take some of those stories from these other departments and put them on the main news feeds. They're going to put money behind it and scale awareness for your dealership. Scale awareness for Donnie, the salesperson. Scale awareness for Frank in service. This is are you kind of starting to see the overall gist of things? Go ahead. So, Brad, this is a really interesting strategy. What's this going to cost me? Right? The business owners in here. Bottom line is super important. How in the hell are we going to pay for this? You're talking about hiring a whole other person. You're talking about this person isn't in charge of doing actual sales or doing actual F&I or actually being in the service department. You really want me to dedicate funds to this one person to just be on his phone all day? Yep. I sure do. How are we going to do that? Next slide. The amount of money you guys are spending on radio, television, print, and those crappy banner ads, go ahead. I want you to cut it in half. Right away. No questions. Done. You're going to take that 50% that you're saving towards your traditional ad spend, and you're going to pay this person a good salary to be awesome at their job for you. And again, some of that other money is going to go towards Facebook ads. Say you put $200 in a Facebook ad. If you get one sold used vehicle off of a $200 Facebook ad, have you met ROI for that ad spend? For $200 on Facebook, somebody bought a used car? You're right, they did. Right? So, go ahead. So, I pushed a big idea to you. And I went really fast. I want to just open it up right now for Q&A because I've seen some of you kind of nod your heads, and then I've also seen that, look.
Ray, what kind of stats do you have? I cut my numbers in 50%. I mean, based on your experience, I'm not sure if you got any stats to say. If I'm spending $500,000 in advertising, I cut that in half, so that gives me $250,000 to go hire a good person. What's my ROI going to be? Do you know?
Well, no, I don't. Flat out, I don't, because it's going to be different to how you deploy those monies. It's going to be dependent on your head of social. It's going to be dependent on the culture of the dealership and how willing everybody is to pitch in on this idea. So social media is not used the same way that mass media is. So you take 50% off of that, just for example, and you pay your head of social $50,000 a year, $60,000 a year.
How many people in this room have watched the late news show in the last week? Local news? There's only about, 3, 4? Yeah, can we advertise on local news? That's one of our prime, we think, one of our best buys. But I don't know who's watching.
Well, I guess one thing when I was talking to him earlier about is whenever there's a commercial or something when I'm watching TV,
Yeah, what do you do?
I grab my phone and I go scroll through Facebook, so that's
Well, when
one
I
thing.
record it, I zap through it.
Exactly.
But Kelly, you go through Facebook, I would go to the dealer's website. That's where I would go for all my information, because if I go to the dealer's website, and the millennials, young people, it also allows you, depending how the website is, what type of website, it will allow you, the dealer, to give that individual all the information they need, their payment, their credit, everything. So they really have a really solid lead now that's coming into the dealership. I don't go to Facebook. I mean,
But you see, you're talking about
Right,
somebody that
certain-
wants to buy a car, and you're talking about Facebook is just people looking at their Facebook ad, and that's like advertising
To
on
avoid the
TV.
commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you wanna buy a car, that's where I go to, that's the second, at first I get the impression probably from Facebook.
But is Facebook going down? Anybody have any known stats on Facebook? Because all your older people are using Facebook, the younger kids are not using, they switched over to Snap.
They did, but they're still on Facebook, very much so.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it, but I'm not a big Facebook fan like I used to be.
And you don't have to.
Yeah.
What you have to realize is, where are my customers? It's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about your end user and about your end buyer, and where are they deploying their attention. All right, dude, we're here. We are in Chico. We're gonna deliver the keynote of their lives. I mean, you're gonna deliver the keynote of their. Yeah, I guess I could've.
Are we ready?
We're going in that room. Man, these notifications keep popping up during my snaps. It's driving me nuts. Come into your office and say you need to go all in on digital banner ads. Last year in 2016, in North America, the fastest growing industry is ad blockers. I saw it on the other side, the nerd doing the analytics was going, man, our mobile banner ads are rocking. The magic in any of this is being able to spend. So, to properly answer your question, because you know how to target them. That's the key. Is you need to have somebody that knows this platform. Otherwise, you're just walking in the dark. Right? You can do Twitter video, you can do Twitter images, but mainly 140 characters, right? Instagram's very visual, and as Brad Oldhouse does it, Truth, I'll see it in Snapchat, and then I'll want to know more, so I go to it. Most of the time, with breaking news in Twitter, they
just pulled up to the house. What a day, what a talk, what a couple of talks. Still got hockey practice tonight. Man, this week just... Thanks for being with me today. I appreciate it. And look for the speech to be on YouTube here someday.